medically understood.
Hey there, folks. Mark Edwards here, and this is the Ultraviolet Podcast. And today I have the pleasure of being joined once again by the wonderful FD Signifier. I reached out to him to come back on the show to talk to him about some stuff he brought up in a video that he released recently. One that has gone through the ringer on YouTube. He's had to take it down multiple times because of copyright stuff and demonetization. But you should go out and watch it right now. Currently, as I'm recording this, it's called I Might Have a Drama Problem with broke bread in parentheses. Go give it a watch. It's not a necessary prerequisite for listening to this conversation, but you should definitely check it out after if you don't listen to it before. But we talk about a lot of stuff that we both have been thinking about very heavily with regard to the content creation space, specifically drama content, how that content feeds the algorithm, how you get objectified by this system and turned into kind of a commodity for other people's consumption, general problems with fame and what it's like to exist in the public eye. And then we talk a lot about the difference between entertainment and actual political praxis and how to intentionally build non-toxic spaces online that hopefully can have a positive impact on the world around us. It was a really, really great conversation. FD is always a pleasure to talk to. We love having him on. Be sure and check out all of the people that we mention in the links down there, in the down there part, in the show notes. Wonderful people who you should all be following. And by doing so, you will help build this non-toxic space. But remember, that's not actual political praxis. Go investigate your mutual aid networks too, because that's very important. As far as content warnings go, we talk a lot about racism and other stuff in the content creation space related to it. And there's also spoiler warnings for the plot of Dune and Dune Messiah, because I'm an enormous fucking nerd and I couldn't help but relate some of the stuff we talked to back to that. And I basically give a plot synopsis of both of those books. So if you haven't seen the movies or read the books, just bear that in mind, that I give a very rough encapsulation of the major plot beats of the story. So you may want to avoid it for that reason. Otherwise, you should be free and clear, and I will not keep you waiting any longer. I give you FD Signifier.
Sorry about that.
No worries. It's funny as hell. Let me hold on a second. So let me just go ahead and we'll do the intro. And FD, thanks for coming back on the show, man. I really appreciate you joining me.
Indeed. Happy to be here. Happy to chop on some of the things I think we're going to get into.
Yeah. So this is probably going to come out in like a month, maybe a little more, depending on how good I am at my job. But we're talking. I reached out to you because you made this video that I don't know what title it's currently on, because you've had to re-upload this motherfucker like 5 times.
Yeah. Oh wait, do I need to record my audio or anything? Are we good to go?
You're good to go. We're good.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, let me see. I actually just shared it. I Might Have a Drama Problem. Broke Bread is what it's called now. Which everybody should go watch that. If you haven't watched that, I don't think it'll be a prerequisite for this conversation, but it will be good if you have. If you haven't already seen it, as soon as you finish this, you should go check it out. But you said some stuff in that video that I, having just taken a 5-month long break from being an internet person, doing some other stuff, have been really thinking about. And I just I was like, I need to get you back and talk to you about this, because this is, we're vibing on the same frequency here. So
I think a lot of us are. I think that was what made this video such an ordeal, is that I think so many of us we're feeling this in the last couple of years in different forms of fashion, especially as quote unquote bread tubes like figureheads began to not fade, but disengage. And we kind of look around and felt like maybe more should have happened in that time frame.
Yeah.
And we see Black Lives Matter kind of crumble under its own weight and bad intentions on some levels. So you see you see like these figureheads kind of fade out of not relevance, but like kind of like retreat from the front lines of like being the face of this discourse. You see the ups and downs of leftist movements nationwide kind of like have some victories and have some big losses. You know, you get disillusioned with the squad, uh, and et cetera. And then also you see the rise of like drama content, to kind of be the most prominent image of what left tube or the online left is about. And so you still say, I want to engage in this space and I want to make content and share and have these conversations and have these and sharing this share these ideas, but you also end up tweeting at 23-year-old white kids who've never
Yeah,
who've
yeah,
never been
yeah,
off their who are
yeah,
terminally online, and you kind of think to yourself, what am I doing?
yeah.
How did I get here?
You
You
know,
know?
it's funny because like my journey as like a content creator is a- so I kind of came in with this level of like I don't want to say disdain for the drama content, but like and admittedly, and we're going to talk about this later, like I'm guilty of this shit too, like I think we
Right.
all are.
Me as
But
well.
yeah. But specifically, I came in none of my original content is on my channel anymore.
Mhm.
Um, I initially was like very tangentially like a part of Vosh's community like 3 years ago.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say I was part of his community. I like watched his show. Um, and it was because it was during the election and there wasn't a lot of like socialist adjacent election coverage.
Right.
And I just kind of was like, okay, I'll watch this dude. And I slowly became disenchanted with him when I kind of started seeing him for what he was, which is, somebody who just instigates conflict for the sake of farming it for content, right?
Right.
Very cynical, very obvious.
In
But
between and it's so funny, I spent, months kind of monitoring his Reddit. And it was as interesting as the thing that he really is missing, according to his fans, is debates now. Ironically, like
yeah,
we
yeah,
call them debate bros, but there hasn't been many debates in years because all of the white supremacists because they won.
yeah,
Congratulations, you guys won, you did it. And so all the notable white supremacist creators have either been completely like removed from the platform or thoroughly defeated in the marketplace of ideas. So they're just kind of over somewhere
yeah,
else making content, but like there's not a lot of impetus to bring them back for round
yeah,
two,
yeah.
you
And
know.
the huge chunks of their community merged with the stream.
Our community, right? So good job.
I will throw Volsh a bone. Like I will be like credit where credit is due. He did intentionally stop debating like low tier like fashy people because
Yeah,
he sees like I'm not going to do this anymore because I'm big enough now that I'm basically giving him exposure. I can sit here and shit on Vosh all day every day, but like I will give him that tiny bit of credit that he did have that level of self awareness at least.
definitely, definitely. I agree, and I probably give Vosh more credit than most. It's funny. There's parts of my video that accidentally got cut that were even more charitable.
No, I'm actually really glad you brought up the like Vosh isn't a thing. Like I've been on the we need to like there are so many bad like this motherfucker has done so many toxic things. We don't need to lie about him.
Yes.
Like
We don't need to hyper, but that's the thing. Oh, that's the thing that's so frustrating is that the jokes are the most memeable and get the most engagement, so they remain prominent. And that's something I think we talked about before is that
yeah.
by having that be a core element of any critique about him and his space, it basically defangs anything else useful that will come out of that critique. Because the critique of Vosh is a critique of the online left and white leftists as a whole, almost through history,
Yeah,
or at least the last 50, 60 years.
for sure. Yeah.
And it's just frustrating that it's the capacity for it to be reduced to pithy personal attacks.
Well, like the thing that like pushed me out of that place was it was when he came after he like said some shit on his stream about No Name, and I don't remember what the deal was, but he basically called her a racist. And
It's like, really?
yeah, and
Yeah, I remember
and
that. And then Andrew that was my first introduction to him.
yeah,
Was that moment. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's
so
going
I'd
on
been
here.
following Andrew as well for a little while, and then I saw that, and I was like, man, what the not Andrew, I was like, Vosh, man, I was like, what the fuck are you doing, dog? Like, this is like obscene. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is just you're just anyway. And I actually like I reached out to Andrew, and like that conversation that when Vosh brought Andrew on his show, because I had made like some React content and like done my like streamer thing, and I was like, number one, it made me feel bad. I didn't like doing it, and number two, that like 3 weeks later, I saw that and I was like, oh, this is the end result of what I'm doing now. I'm never doing that shit again. And like, I completely changed my format and I started reaching out to people who like had been spurned by this community. And I was like, I just want to talk to y'all and like have conversations about stuff. And so like, I kind of owe this whole cesspool a debt because I wouldn't be the content creator that I am if I hadn't made contact with it and gotten a little bit of ick on me.
Yeah, that's the thing, I think my criticisms of Voss are pretty obvious at this point, so I don't have to qualify Voss bad
Yeah.
when I speak positively. But like, to my detriment, I've been on record saying that Voss being an entry point that casts a wide net is a net positive. It'd be nice if Voss were better, more self-reflective, less egotistical, actually was more concerned more about like learning and educating himself than being the big brain. Because that's what all this comes down to. Vosh doesn't know shit about Black nationalism.
Yeah.
And as Black leftists began to interact more visibly with the online left and left to, Vosh decided he was more interested in promoting conservative Black nationalist imagery to his audience. He's had Dr. Umar on his screen more than any Black leftist.
Word? Like he had Umar on?
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's never talked to Dr. Umar, but like he's reacted to Dr. Umar multiple times.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, holy shit.
And it's right. And it's because, Vosh's comfort zone is pointing out the problems of extremist ideology.
Right.
Which no shade isn't that hard.
Yeah.
But also is very galvanizing. People, there's a reason why, but the same reason why people call Vosh is why Vosh has his biggest wins against Nazis and, Black Hammer or whatever.
Yeah.
Because when people are that cartoonishly ridiculous, you don't have to do much but punch them really hard in front of everybody, and you get the kudos. You get the kudos for that. And so when confronted with the fact that Black nationalism is actually a truly complex historical movement that has led to numerous anti-colonial socialist projects across the country, across Africa and in America, and that there's a big difference between Dr. Umar and Kwame Ture that he didn't know about. His reaction was just to say, nope, looks like Black Nazis.
And that those conversations about like, progressivism versus conservatism have been had within the movement.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Within the movement, there's so much there. A lot of it I didn't know, to be fair, but I would never have responded with the level of dismissiveness. And then you also have to then talk about how the audience responds so negatively and voraciously to the bloodbath, and that is the drama.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it becomes less about, man, wouldn't it be great if we could take this extremely popular streamer who is the mouth of the dam? Is it the mouth of the dam, like the mouth of the Mississippi?
Yeah,
there's a metaphor there.
Yeah.
My point is he cast a wide net to a wide audience that is not ready for certain other subjects. Man, wouldn't it be great if he had a relatively decent understanding of Black nationalism as a political project and didn't just think it was Louis Farrakhan and Umar Johnson? And man, didn't say St. Andrew tried to explain that to him and he called him a Black Nazi. And, all these other people tried to explain it to him and they called them Black Nazis. And then finally, Professor Flowers does it. She does it with a little more fire. And not only did she get called a Black Nazi, they engineered a hate movement against her. And then here we are. And now people are like, okay, fuck it. We're not even going to try. You know what I'm saying? And that sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree. Going back to like the thing that you said about like Vosh being a good entry point and casting a wide net. Like I agree, right? Like I've said that too. Much to like a lot of people's chagrin. Like people don't like to hear that, but
Right.
like at a certain point, I would encourage every leftist out there to read. I'm going to recommend a book I can't remember the name of. I'll post it in the link, but just any modern marketing material. Go look up the Wikipedia entry for a sales funnel. That is what people like Vosh are is they are the mouth of the funnel.
Yes.
And maybe they're not going to get somebody to, become like a radical in the streets. Probably not. But one or two of those folks might wind up that way. But maybe they move some like, Hillary people over to like the DSA or something. Like it's incremental stuff.
Yeah, but it's valuable, especially considering the position our politics are in nationwide and worldwide.
And it would be really nice if they just didn't all seem to wind up being like racist drama farmers,
Right. And that therein lies the folly. Therein lies the valid criticism of me and you's perception. Is like we can both say, man, what if, and it could, and then like the homie Bellamy comes back and says, no, FD, look what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're right, and let me just shut the fuck up and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, so like the streamer thing is just kind of, I think that's sort of like the background to all this, right? Like that's a history lesson in this soup that we're all swimming in, where that's just kind of with the popular medium now, and like figures rise and fall. Like you've got Kiefel's spinning off in one direction now, doing all her bullshit, and to a lesser extent Xander Hall and like all these other folks, like they're going to rise and fall. Like none of these people are like permanent fixtures because the medium is so fickle.
Right.
And then you have this phenomenon that you touched on or didn't touch on. You wrote like a 2.5-hour video of just lightly spent weeks working on
months. That video started in
maybe.
November.
Yeah.
And it was, the irony is that it was meant to be bigger. And then I got COVID going into Christmas. And then my editor flaked on me. Like maybe I saw the editor flaked on me like in the coming weeks before it was meant to come out. And so I had to basically rush and finish it in like a 4-day window.
Oh, damn.
Something that I have been working on, at a slow pace for months suddenly. And I had like the raw and I had like chunks of it. But like my process is usually to have a near finished product a good 2 weeks before it's done.
Yeah.
And then iterate and let it marinate and tinker and, whatever. And I didn't get to do any of that. Which the good thing is because I had finished it so early, the primary elements, it wasn't as it had a lot of time to marinate, but like certain things I just watched, I'm like, oh God, I wish I could have finished that or revisited that or whatever. Hell, the end part with Lindsay was 2 days old.
Oh shit.
That whole section was 2 days old before it came out. The interviews were old, but like the way that section came together, that was that was new-ish.
Yeah. But yeah, this like phenomenon where like people who spend any amount of time in the public eye in this space, at least nominally trying to do good, wind up just getting burnt the fuck out by various different aspects of this community and culture, like
Yep.
system, whatever you want to refer to it as. And, admittedly, a lot of those folks fucked up and responded to it poorly, but also a lot of them didn't. And like, it's just, it almost doesn't matter if you do good or you do bad. It eats you all the same, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. It's because it's several things. The most important part is, the whole culture industry thing that, you know, to be here, one of the things, my hotel roots serve me well as I kind of make decisions on what I'm going to do with my content. You know what I'm saying? I hear my dad in my ear uh basically forcing me to be skeptical of what I'm actually doing at all times. I hear some of my uncles in my ear
mhm.
like, "Boy, why you think why you so popular?"
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? "Oh, you real successful on that white
yeah.
YouTube space. What's up with that?" And I'm like, "Oh, what is up with that?" And so, I don't think it was the same skepticism that I have that causes, H bomb or philosophy tube or whomever to be less engaged in the space, but it does force you to think, all right, what am I really doing, and what mass am I really serving as I make this content on this multinational, company's media platform? You know what I'm saying? Surely, if I were so radical and so revolutionary in my politics and my content, it would make little sense to have me have millions of views. You know what I'm saying? That just doesn't jive with the nature of how revolutions work. And so once that crystallizes, because the people don't know any, well, I won't say that's going to sound hardy. The people, it's not that they don't know any better, is that they want to believe and feel like their engagement on your content is some type of praxis and action,
Mhm.
you know, and it's really your responsibility as a creator to remind them that it's not, and to consistently point them to action and praxis in the process. And but then you have to, one, have the ethics to do that,
Mhm.
uh and also like care.
But I think you also have to like, they want to believe that watching you is praxis and practice. I think a lot of people who do this also want to believe that it's praxis.
Right.
Like, and I think I think I want to say streamers are slightly more susceptible to this, but it gets everybody is believing that this thing that you and I are doing right now in video essays and streaming is praxis. Like, if you believe that as a person who's making it, the people that watch you are going to more easily believe it too.
Right.
And so, or if you cynically position it as that, whether you believe it or not, which is another side of that whole coin. So
Yeah, like,
I think it hits both sides of the relationship.
yeah, that's the thing. Like I get so annoyed um by the jabs that come from these streamers. This is more in the Destiny sphere,
Yeah.
who are I'm kind of okay with Destiny's content because it's entertaining, and he's less he's just as toxic, don't get me wrong, but like,
Mhm.
that aside, he's less up his own ass about the value of what he's doing, I think. If that makes sense, compared to like other the real leftists, like Destiny, I don't think considers himself a leftist, and so he's kind of removed the veneer that he's doing like real work, and that his words and content is so valuable when he's popping up on the Fresh and Fit podcast for the umpteenth time. You know what I'm
I
saying?
don't know if that's necessarily true because Destiny also makes the rounds at like actual political conventions and stuff. Like he'll go to like the libertarian like young whoever for freedom rallies and like I think Destiny considers himself he's done like actual political advocacy too, like trying to get Congress
Voting
people elected.
registration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like I think he considers himself a political agent. I think he's just so fucking irony pilled and like
Yeah.
2016 internet poisoned that even his version of being genuine is disingenuous. So it's
Yeah.
hard to tell.
Well, I think that's the thing. Maybe that's what it is that has Destiny puts, I guess, because he's done more outside of the house action.
Yeah.
Even if it's not
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
action that
yeah.
I put a lot of value in. Like I'm not I'm done with electoralism. You know what I'm saying? I've had people reach out and be like, "Hey, can you help me with this election?" Something. So I'm like, "No, I'm not. No." You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I'm not a don't vote guy, right? But I'm never going to have content on the value of voting, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Either way. But either way, Vosh and Keffels thinks that like her seventh video about a beef between her and another figure is somehow like part of a leftist movement. You know what I'm saying? And there's a big gap there, and that annoys me more than Destiny doing a voter drive and then talking to Sneeko for the 20th time on his content. Like I just find that less annoying. Destiny's more engaged with the fact that he's an entertainer. That's what it is.
Yeah, I think that's
Versus
absolutely true.
a lot of other streamers think they're political agents, and they're less entertaining and less political than Destiny. But I brought that up to point out that when I hear him and other streamers critique me for saying I'm not interested in having conversations, and like you have to have these conversations, I'm like, why? These conversations they're not that valuable. You know what I'm saying? They're not nearly as valuable as you think, especially if you're having the same conversation over and over again. They're entertaining, they're amusing, they're a good waste of time, but like, no, having conversations with with a moderate is not like, you don't remember, like everybody remembers that. Do you remember the really serious debates Martin Luther King had that got the civil rights movement going? He didn't have any. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you remember all those debates around the LGBTQ movement in the 70s and 60s, and then in the 2010s when marriage equality acts are passed? Do you remember all those serious public debates? No.
I was going to say I remember King writing a letter to the people who were having the debates while he was in the fucking Beast.
Yes. Yes. Like so tell me I'm boring and that you don't want to watch my hour 45-minute essay. I am fine with that. Don't tell me that me not taking seriously having a conversation with X person who said something positive or negative about me is somehow me not really being into these principles, because there's no evidence that those things are all that valuable in the sphere of public opinion. That's just what people tell themselves to validate to validate their favorite content creator. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Can I throw my overly psychoanalytical conspiracy theory at you about all this?
Most definitely.
Okay. So we've kind of talked about this before, like the last time we talked, and then I think we had like a Twitter back and forth about something else about this. But I'm gonna try and lay this all out in one go because I've never done it before, but it's been percolating in my head. Number one, nobody ever there are very few truly like dyed in the wool, self-aware, cynical people who are like, I'm going to manipulate X person to get B behavior at a Y interaction. There are people who do that kind of stuff sort of naturally, and then they get propelled to the top because they're good at it. But they probably don't think of themselves in the way in the way that other people might perceive their actions, right?
Right.
Nobody's the villain in their own story.
Right.
Then there is there's the kayfabe aspect of it, where everybody who produces content to a certain extent, however minimally, however maximally, is the person on screen, and I think you spent some time talking about this in your video too. The FD that is on screen talking is not Feek that's having dinner with his family, right?
Mhm.
There is a character on screen. That character might be very close to who you are, and I get the vibe that like you're probably closer to the character than a lot of other folks, and like my
Definitely.
character is a little closer to who I am than I think a lot of other people. But that's not like a comment of like good or bad. That's just like wherever that distance is comfortable for you. But it is a character, right? Absolutely is a character. And have you ever read Dune?
No, no.
Okay.
Probably something I should do eventually because it feels like this feels like a rite of passage I should have gotten through.
Yeah, if you ever do, let me like I definitely want to hear your take on it. Like I'm a huge Dune nerd, despite all of its problems, and it's got some problematic elements to it. But you here you go read Dune, and then me and Aronok will sit down and do a podcast about it because she's a huge Dune nerd too, and we'll bore everybody for like 6 hours. But there's this so there's the just a quick synopsis because this book really highlights what I'm talking about. The gist of the story is that the main character is the bad guy,
Yeah, I
and
have
it's
heard
from
that.
his POV, and he's basically like a Superman, right? He's a genetically engineered, quote unquote, perfect human being who can like see the future and also has a genetic memory of every human being that has ever been in his family line. So he can like, he's also super intelligent, so he can use all that information to perfectly predict what's going on around him. He's basically like the like apotheosis of human like potential. Um, Herbert was a bit of a eugenicist piece of shit. But
Boy, that
it's
eugenics stuff was real hot in that time period,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, but so anyway, that's the POV character, and he becomes the through a series of events, he becomes the emperor of the entire universe. And you spend a lot of time in the sequels, which deal with him being the like this god and also the god of a religion. People worship him as a god.
Yeah.
Um, and you spend a lot of time in his head, and he talks a lot about what it's like being a great person, like a quote
Mm.
unquote great man. And there's a quote that he has where he's like, you have to be able to understand that you are not the person that people perceive you as, that this great person, this myth, is separate from who you actually are.
Mm.
And you have to be able to uncouple yourself from that and understand it as almost a separate entity so that you can move within yourself as a human being. And if you are not able to do that, even temporary minimal greatness will completely destroy a person because they will perceive themselves to be the myth or the character that others perceive them to be, and that will just destroy you as a human being. Like it
Yeah,
breaks your brain. And I think that's a lot of what happens in the entertainment space, right?
yeah,
All these people are playing characters, and the smart ones know that. And the
yeah.
ones who don't wind up treating it so they become so invested in it that they can't uncouple from it and move within themselves as like a regular person. They see themselves, they're no longer like I would no longer be Mark. I'm Mark.gg in my entire life, right?
Right, right.
Right. So
It's
that's
it's it's Charlie Sheen,
yeah.
Kanye. Um, yeah, definitely. And there's an element to that because it's well, I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was basically it. I was like, I think a lot of these folks wind up they build this sort of like simulacrum of themselves in the public
Yeah,
eye that gets built up by other people too, and you have certain control over it, right? You can like put those clothes on. You can put on the character suit and say, "Hey, I'm okay with this. I'm not okay with this." But you also don't have as much control because it's a relationship with your fan base.
right.
But I think There are some people who either never take the suit off, or they never even realize it's a suit at all. They think it's their skin.
Yes, yes. That's such a and I don't know what it is. Cause I hate being fake famous. I hate this shit so much.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God. It is such a frustrating, depersonalizing experience. And I don't know, and it's hard to like, I don't want to, I try not to cast aspersions or like make value judgments around people that clearly like it a lot more than I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but like being an influencer was not the goal I had when I started uploading videos. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to be successful and I wanted to make money eventually. Like once I realized one, I was good at it, and two, there was money to be made. Like, of course, that was purposeful. And so then I understood I had to engage with the influencer element in order to, maximize that, especially because I'm working from such a disadvantaged position being a black man in the space. But as success has come, it has been super frustrating and uh you know causing so much neurosis and anxiety around the reality of what it is I'm doing, and how I'm being mythologized by people. You know what I mean? And that was one of the goals of this video, was to kind of like turn the mirror on my audience as they watch me. You know what I'm saying? Like the shot I'm most proud of in the video is this moment where I pop up behind myself talking and I'm explaining my appeal, like as a from like third person,
Yeah.
because the goal is to like have people recognize what it is that's happening to me, um uh like diegetically, like within the actual text of the video, and not just watch me do a video. You know what I'm saying? And because people don't, one, because of the things I'm doing are relatively rare, right? I'm a heterosexual black man who's intentionally had a pro LGBTQ, pro trans platform, and community, but also extremely pro black male compared to other spaces. Um, Critical of feminists and black feminists, waves that have been harmful and how they've been co-opted. Um, and also like a dad,
Yeah.
with the black white. Like there's so many things I'm doing that don't get to be done in public. So people who've been looking for that are like, oh my God, thank you so much. I love you so much. You're the best. You're a leader. You're amazing. I'm like, nah, I'm just doing my job and I want to go home. Like, I don't want to talk. Oh my God, let me tell you the most two things. Just let me vent for a second. I'm
No, go
sorry.
ahead. That's what we're here for. We got all day. Go.
So
Vent.
two things. The first thing is like the worst, and this is all happening while I'm writing this video. So me and my wife are going to our taco place, locally, and got outside seating, and nobody's outside. So we sit down and we're eating our tacos and we're having a conversation. And the bulk of our conversation is about like my wife going through therapy and like trauma and like really personal stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're having this conversation, I see out the corner of my eye a young woman come into the restaurant. And then she sits down right next to us. And I don't even notice because I'm like engulfed with my wife. But, it is weird that like in this whole empty outside space, she sits down right next to us. And so like we're sitting here talking, having a very personal conversation, not like loud. So we're doing it like quiet enough that if you're not trying to listen, you won't hear it. But we're not whispering because I don't realize that I'm famous. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so like we finish our tacos, we get up, and the young woman stops and says, "Before you leave, oh my God, I just want to tell you I'm such a big fan." And I'm like, holy fuck, I'm talking about my wife's childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And you're like, here.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be here because I'm not FD Signifier right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like that was such a, and so I've had people, you know, say like on my Instagram, I saw you with your kids at Target. And I'm like, you did? What?
Like, I hate that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, did I fart? Like, what am I doing while you're watching me? You know what I'm saying? Like, did I grab my wife's ass? You know, like, is there so many like things about existing in the public eye that feel unnatural and frustratingly you know, depersonalizing, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. But that's like relatively like I can adjust to that relatively easy. I just when I go out and I'm a introvert anyway, just be aware that people might recognize me. And it's not like I'm fucking Brad Pitt or something where I'm always going to get recognized. You know, it
Right.
happens once a week maybe. But the other problem that I'm
I'm sorry,
realizing,
that sounded like a humble brag. You're like, I don't get recognized a lot. I just get seen like once a week. Somebody asks me for my audio. I'm fucking with you, but that
and
was
that's the
funny.
other thing. Like, and that's the other thing is that it's hard to like relate it to people who aren't in the same boat like me. And like, I don't know if you caught like Lindsay was clearly very emotional in that section, but we were both very emotional.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we were both kind of thinking about the toll of that weird, you know, unless you want that type of fame and want to be seen as a big brain, like a, you know, a Destiny or a Vosh, it's actually not something you seek out from the content you're making.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you and Noah ruined my fucking life. Like,
Right.
like I got like 20,000 views on each of those videos, and I was like, I hate that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, it's
And I like I took all my. That's why it's all audio now on YouTube because of those two videos. Like that was enough for me to be like, I don't want these people seeing my face. I'm done. So
yeah.
like,
My first few videos, I don't show my face for that reason because I
yeah.
wasn't thinking about it for that. You know, I wish I could be Sean.
No,
You know what I mean?
if somebody saw me in Target and said something, I would set myself on fire. I don't even know how you handle that shit, man. Like I was fucking with you before. I really like I wouldn't even be able to handle that at all.
Yeah, it's you have to be built for it. You have to be built different for that. I love CJ the X. CJ's been openly antagonistic about not being community driven and being art driven. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds like the move. But so the other thing though that has really affected me because I'm you know, I care about people, you know,
Mhm.
is how my words carry in ways that I can't control anymore.
Yeah.
And so like if I say something in a video about a particular idea, even if it's not about a particular person, just about a particular idea, I'm now at the point where I can punch down uh, you know, accidentally, you know, and then like then I have to kind of like, how do I resolve that? Like I did this, oh God, it's a disaster. I did this the video with about Kadology's video. And
Oh yeah, I saw that
there's
stream.
yeah, and there's a lot to that I don't want to
Yeah, yeah,
re-engage with because it'll cause more drama and conflict. I'll just say
for sure.
I didn't want to hurt her, although I
Yeah.
have still very much a lot of critiques about some of the things she said and am frustrated that you know people don't seem to fully well a lot of people did. I guess that's what the problem is, that people got exactly what I was pointing at with her content and her video.
Mhm.
And but then that like, you know, it seems like it ruined her career. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it did just because of me. You know, she did say the things she said, but you know, me pointing it out had a huge impact on her
Yeah.
in a way that I didn't intend. And so like we had our talk the other night and I really just kind of I barely defended myself and barely it wasn't a debate much because I was like if I get in here, how can I ever criticize Vosh?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, if I go in, you know, because I know that part of the reason why she is getting treated badly based on my critiques is because she's a black woman. You know what I'm saying? Or at least
Yeah.
is racialized as such. And I've noticed that whenever I dabble in any type of critique of Black femininity, anything, that is what has the biggest ripple effect, because motherfuckers would be like, oh, that's the green light.
Yeah, blood
You
in the
know,
water.
The situation with Hassan is another example. Like, I don't agree with Hassan's take, but Hassan's take was so bad partially because he did not consider how that would ripple throughout his audience, and that his
Yeah.
audience is made up of like 17 to 23-year-olds who they may believe trans women are women and like trans rights matter, but they're not above talking down to trans people on Twitter because they think they had a bad take, and not considering how that manifests and reverberates outside of that one interaction. And so like now I've compared it to, in like an anime or like a superhero show where the guy first gets powers and he accidentally rips a door off the hinges, just trying to use normal strength.
You really should read Dune just so you can read the sequel, Messiah, because it's literally about this. Is the whole angst and internal conflict that the main character has is he it's also kind of racist, but like it is what it is. But the basically all of the culture that he took over and destroyed as like this white savior, they worship him like a god, and then they go out into the universe and just kill billions of people trying to convert everybody into worshiping him.
Yeah.
And he has no power to control that. He can only minimize the damage. Um, and that's basically the plot of the book, is him trying to like, I can't stop this. If I died today, they do it in my name as a martyr. So I have to live with the least bad version of this, because at least I still have some level of control.
That is, and the thing is people are going to hear this and they're going to think I'm an asshole. And rightfully so. Rightfully so, because I sound like a fucking asshole. It is so frustrating because I sound like the exact type of asshole that when I had 50,000 subscribers, I'd have pilloried in my little videos. You know what I'm saying? It's the guy that criticized Bo Burnham's self-important, navel-gazing, white guilt, art piece where he built a house behind his house and made a video. You know what I'm saying? Bo Burnham makes makes a comedy special about building a house behind his house during COVID and thinking about how it sucks to be in his extra house.
It's very John Lennon and I can't remember, Yoko Ono, like not getting off their mattress for a week to protest the war.
Yeah. Yeah. So like it's the exact type of, navel gazing nihilism that the old me, that non-FD has been annoyed by forever, and the fucking irony and paradox of now being in this position and having to empathize with the brain breaking nature of notoriety and influence, and how it makes you lose touch, and how the effort to regain touch almost makes it worse. Because now I become a guy whining on a podcast about how hard it is to be fake famous. You know what I'm saying? But I reckon, but the proof is in the pudding, because you look at how everybody that's gotten to this point disengages. Where D'Angelo Wallace hasn't made a video in 2 years now, and the one video he made was about why he's not making videos anymore. You know what I'm saying? And that is the reality. And he's 18, so like, well, he's older than that now, but he started like very young. So I know it was worse for him than me. I think about all the other people that started younger that have done it. I'm sure it was much worse. At least when I, close the app, then I play with my kids. You know what I'm saying? I go on a date with my wife. Other motherfuckers don't even have that. And then they don't have the cynicism to be critical of what they're dealing with in the first place. And then to bring it home, when you bring all of this back to the politics, right, it becomes an even worse shitstorm of like self-important navel gazing, collecting nice checks from YouTube and saying, well, how much of this should I really donate to my local uh freaking mutual aid fund, to not get canceled if somebody says something about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
weird. It's weird.
Yeah, and, like, the thing I think the other thing is, being older when you got into this and, like, having a life, like, I think that helps you put distance between you and the thing.
Yeah.
If you're young, if you're, like, just becoming, like, a fully formed adult person as you're becoming a content creator, I think that, like, distance between you and the character is harder to maintain. Like, when I first started doing and admittedly, like, I have, like until I talked to you the last time, I had, like, 400 subs, right? Like, I'm not, like
Right.
let me be very clear, I'm not a famous person, and I'm not even, like, fake famous. Um, but, like, still, I would engage with this stuff, and then I would, like, go to my job and watch somebody die and have to tell their family that they're not coming
Mm.
back. Like, I was like, "Oh, none of that shit really matters." Like,
Yeah.
it's this,
Yeah.
so it gives you, like or just, like, having a family, right? Like, just having other stuff in your life that's not this constant cycle of and this might be a good spot to move into this other stuff that you talked about, like, like, the algorithm is kinda like a means of production where it, like, molds you into being the product that it wants to push. If you get so caught up in this, you will lose touch with the fact that you are being ever so slightly like, right? Like, it's like you look at that, "Oh, you know what? This video didn't go 1 out of 10 this time. Maybe it was this reason." Or like, "My fans like this video a little bit better. Maybe it was because of this." And ever so slowly, those rough edges are getting filed off. The square parts of you that didn't fit in that round hole are getting shaved away,
Mm-hmm.
and you're being turned into this product that is easily sellable without even being aware of it and probably without a conscious thought on anybody's part. It's just how it works now.
Right.
And the product that you could be selling the idea of, "Hey, this system is turning us into products and that bad." And then the system's like, "Oh, that's a really good product. Let me
Right.
sell
It's a really good product.
that."
That's a great point you make. Let me share it, and here's your cut. you
Yeah,
know,
just
yeah,
like this funhouse mirror of just like it's fucking I don't even know how to describe it. Like
it's a weird it's yeah that it's a weird paradox of here I am making videos about deconstructing and analyzing systems, and the system itself is rewarding me for those videos. This makes me think, is my video is my video doing the thing? Should I even be trying to do the thing like I'm doing with this video? Because you know the most insidious part of capitalism in these systems is how they effortlessly co-opt us.
Mhm.
The whole that so that cover for that for drama for broke bread is an image I've had in my head for about a year.
It's
um
very, very good. Whoever that who's that artist? I wanna make sure we put it in the
I
links.
gotta look them up.
Okay. Yeah, send me that because I wanna put the link in there because they did a good job on that.
Yeah, but like so, but that image though, like that image has been in my head forever. It's just I was wondering when I was going to use it. And initially, I was going to do a video about the art of being co-opted. That was
Mhm.
what that image initially I said I was going to use it for. Is what I realized. So like we have in our head. I think I may have. If I didn't say this to you, I said it to somebody. You have it in your head that when a person sells out or they're co-opted, they get invited to a meeting with a bunch of old white men at a round table, and then somebody like opens up the briefcase and there's $1 million in the briefcase, and they say all you have to do is sign here, and make a
Mhm.
video about, I don't know, fucking Herschel Walker or some shit, right?
Mhm.
And what it really is is you pull something out of your soul and you put it on YouTube, and it may have every important, idea that you thought you wanted to share in its purest form, and it may be radical, it may be uh, uh, a challenge to the system, and it may have all the the markings of the literature and the philosophy that you value and that you want to share. And but the job of YouTube is to figure out how whatever it is you just did is best commodified. What audience is going to pay the most for the thing that you made with your soul? And and then at that point, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? And you are contributing to the co-option of those things you talked about. Those
Mhm.
things you talked about now are now a product to be commodified and not a revolutionary praxis. And over time, you look at feminism, even intersectional feminism. You look at you know a lot of leftists. You look at how Che Guevara,
Yeah.
most people know as a T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that is how co-option really works. It's a slow, insidious adjustment for the target of whatever it is you said, and where it lands and who it lands for, and then how to commodify that. And then you if you're not critical, you're convinced that you're doing the thing, you're doing
Yeah.
the praxis, but really you're just creating a product. And the real praxis is, when this podcast goes off, are you going to a meeting? Are you cutting a check for an organization? Are you doing something within on the streets, or in the spaces that need your actual help? Now that you have this new idea, if you just want to be entertained, that's also fine, but acknowledge that's what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you've talked about his work before, and he's probably one of my like favorite current working philosophers. But that the anything that you put out into the world is slowly going to get subsumed within the system and used to further push it is very much in line with Olufemi Taiwo's like elite
Hmm.
capture, which you got to
Hmm.
get that dude on. I want to talk to him, but you definitely got to get him on B sides. Like
I,
I
I,
really
I,
want to see
I
y'all
have I
talk.
have 6 degrees of separation from him now, so hopefully it's only a matter of time.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
I've actually like I've DM'd him once or twice. He's really personable. Like you should just reach out and I'm sure he'd come on.
Okay,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Y'all gotta talk.
Yeah, yeah, because I need that. Oh, I need that in like, now my goal is, moving forward, I don't have right now, I don't have any like truly bred to ideas left for videos. Like, I have videos on masculinity, right? Like, I want
Mhm.
to do, but like, I have a black conservative video coming out, which is always going to be bred to evergreen. When you're shitting on conservatives, even though that's not what the video's
Yeah.
going to end up being. But like, beyond that, I don't have any breadtube videos left in my head. Not just because I'm trying to like disengage from that community overall, but also just because I don't I don't care about reacting to anything Elon Musk did anytime soon. I just don't have an interest in it. And so but as I move forward, the point I was trying to make is I'm going to be more intentional about like breaking the fourth wall,
Yeah.
of, you're watching a product. Here is the product. Did you enjoy it? Awesome. If you really want to show how you enjoyed it, you can pay $1 for my Patreon and $3 for your local, mutual aid fund. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. I don't know. I haven't figured
Yeah.
it out yet, but just to, for my own sanity, create a bigger space between my content and praxis, so that people can be um less fooled by how good I am at my job, you
Yeah.
know?
And I think this is something that but yeah, I was just thinking two things is number one, every time I talk to a video essayist or somebody about something similar to this, all I keep thinking is, and this is very selfish, and I'm a bastard for it, is man, I have it so much easier because I literally just talk to people, and if I want to be like, oh hey, by the way, I'm just an entertainer. None of this matters. Y'all should go donate to your local mutual aid and go get on the streets and do some stuff. I can just say it just like I did just now in the middle of a thought. So like I don't have the burden of trying to make like a coherent narrative for like a piece of art. So it's easier for me to do that. I feel that stress less, I think. But specifically with like and I don't really have a commentary on that other than just to be like, man, that I'm glad that I don't.
Right.
And I'm sure that has its own downsides that I will encounter later if I actually am successful. But you know, for the time being,
Yeah,
um, but
you're indie right now, and
yeah,
that's the purest, art. Like, sorry, my wife is like my um.
no, this
Oh
is real
shit.
life. This is what the people like.
Yeah.
um, one of the things that you were talking about like BreadTube and not like maybe not making content for BreadTube and I I think TJ1 said this in your video.
T1J.
T1J, damn, fucking that up. It's like one of my favorite YouTubers, and I never get his name right. T1J, the janitor. um,
Yes.
yeah, um, but but he was like, I think it was him who was like, BreadTube's not even like it was never even like really a thing.
Yeah.
It was just people decided to put that to make that category. YouTube decided to make that category. And like you kind of see that going on now with like the younger black creators coming up and
Yeah.
that's turning into its own thing, which good, right? Like I'm happy for all of them. Like shout out to like Turb and Think Piece and um uh
Foreign and
Foreign and
all the
yeah,
Maud was Dainty Funk or still Maud. I don't know. She does the really artsy joints that were fucking amazing.
yeah, and like
Um.
Color Mind and like
Right.
all those folks, Bellamy. It's just there's this whole crew of folks that are coming up. But the thing that I think is different about that is that there's a level of intentionality there that didn't exist with BreadTube,
Yeah.
where everybody involved in that space for obvious reasons, like because they're having to go up against like the fact that the algorithm doesn't like black folks is there is this level of intentional community and like big up in each other and like hey we're making a thing here, put the word out. And I think that's good because if you have that sort of community cohesion, you get to kind of like set like, hey, this is kind of what we're doing. This is the
Mhm.
vibe. And that I think is more powerful than just like letting a bunch of 15-year-old kids on the internet decide that you're a part of a thing you never signed up for.
Right. Yeah, and it's also hindsight, to be fair. Like, so all of that started with Break Bread.
Yeah.
Like, I got into the room. There's a movie. It's gonna be, if I'm planning this like black movie thing. Like just a club where we're gonna sit around and watch and talk about black movies. Um, but there's this movie called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. And spook is an old semi-racist term for black
Oh,
people.
I read that book. That was a
Was that a book too?
yeah.
It might be the same. I think it is. I think, yeah, because I feel like the guy that made the movie also wrote the book.
Yeah, it's a novel. Yeah, I read that.
Yeah,
It's been a
Sam
long time since
Greenline.
I read it.
I haven't read the novel. I should go back and read it because I may start with that as like a tone setter for this
Mhm.
project I'm thinking through.
But yeah, go ahead with what you're saying. Sorry.
But so you probably vaguely remember the plot is a black guy got accepted into powerful white spaces, but they kind of, you know,
Yeah.
didn't take him seriously. And the whole time he's like, "Oh, I'm taking notes. Y'all did this, and then you do that, da, 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 da." And then he leads a flawed revolution, which I thought was good. That like his revolution didn't work, low key, because it kind of undermines kind of great man theory stuff.
Mhm.
Also, it was done in the '70s, so it was a little sexist. But either way, that's how I felt when I got on Nebula. You know, I just keep it at 100. Just keep it at 100. Because Nebula opened all these different doors to like have like I had lunch with a YouTube high executive yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so like, okay, y'all let me in. Thanks. You know, so like break bread, you know, I'm having conversations with Hank Green. I'm having conversations with the lawyer, what is his name? Devin Stone, but his channel is Legal Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so these are people that are highly successful, millions of subscribers, etc. And I'm like understanding like what it takes to be successful straight from the mouth of people that have done it, within the framework of how it gets done. And for me, and this is no shade to other, you know, other Black creators who've made it big, or anybody from a marginalized identity who's made it big. But to me, the idea that I would just get big and then like pat myself on the back and, you know, buy a Bugatti, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like that was like, no, like the main reason I started doing YouTube is because I hated having to watch white YouTubers talk about Black things that they didn't fully understand. And I don't want to be the only person doing that. I don't want to do this forever. So how do we change that?
Mm-hmm.
And so the reason why Cornbread 2 feels more intentional is because it's informed by watching BreadTube in reverse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's informed by understanding the nature of how these systems work, and knowing that there's a formula to success that we can't access, but we can mimic. The only problem that we have now is how to grow the Black audience for it. You know, that's what I'm focused on, because we are, you know, presenting a very radical politics that,
Yeah.
you know, there's the constant myth is that Black people are conservative, really, if you ask them. And that's not that true. It's more so Black people are survival oriented and don't have the, you know, generally speaking, don't have as much opportunity or access to certain ideas to allow them to take hold and feel safe being a part of. But if you're paying attention, you know, you see we're out there and we're growing. It's just a matter of connecting all the dots. And the algorithm is evil only because it has no morality, and its morality is based off of the status quo of the people it seeks to monetize.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can't get the algorithm to share our stuff to more people. But if we get more people slowly and become more viable, the algorithm will work in our favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my Black Panther video, my Lauryn Hill video, um, more successful than the drama video for BreadTube. And that was like, that's a useful thing for me to know and understand, that it is safe for me to make a video that is wholly focused on Black issues. And I can sneak in these leftist politics and continue to convert, you know, people young and old. Uh, and then those people might pop in for Frank Laundrie's new video. You know what I mean? They might pop in for Color Mind's new video. And then suddenly we have the same type of gravitational pull that Contra and Lindsay and H-Bomb did. And God knows what comes from that, you know, in a beautiful world that does create movement in social action. But in a less beautiful world, it at least changes the status quo, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the intentionality is probably really important there, because like the other way that that could go, like the absolute like worst possible way, is like what happened to like hip hop in the 90s and 2000s, right?
Right.
Like is when you just get like you were talking about, like that room full of people who open a briefcase individually one on one and are like, okay, well, this is just a product we're going to sell.
Right.
But like, if you make it a community effort, then you get to maintain ownership over it.
Right. Yeah. Or worse, just a bunch of black debate bros.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Which are already out there, like DJ Academics. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I hope that takes off. I would love to see that. I would love to see that replicated, like, just, I mean, obviously, like, I love what y'all are doing, but I would like to see that model replicated amongst, like, healthy boys in general, right? Like, I think
Right.
Noah's trying to push that a little bit, and,
Yeah. Like Noah just collab with Elliot saying, I love that. They're both in a video I have coming out in a couple of weeks, that I hope kind of creates that. Sisyphus isn't a leftist, I don't think, but he's definitely like a healthy boy type of guy.
mhm.
Excuse me. He's left leaning, which is, for me, that's good enough right now. Like, I'm not into, Bellamy hates the phrase purity testing. But I'm really not gonna put
Yeah.
in. I have a low bar of passing right now for getting guys to get their shit together. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Like, my
we got
actual politics would, if I said my actual politics, I would not be allowed to have a channel on YouTube. Um, and I'm just happy if I can get a motherfucker to vote for Elizabeth Warren, right?
right. Good
Like,
enough.
yeah.
They all suck, but this one sucks a bit less. Just deal with it. Just deal with it. It's cool. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so, like, where do you see that, like, going? Like, are you hopeful for that? Do you see moves getting made, or?
Well, so you look at, you look when I look at the space, like, so Turb is maybe got the most momentum right now. Okay, Amazon. See,
Damn.
you
God
see,
damn. Fuck.
you see what the fuck is going on? Siri's over there like, what you over there talking about, motherfucker? Anyway,
In the cop in the room.
right, the cop is in the room with us.
In your pocket, really, but
right. This is why I'm not even worried about Siri, because Android has everything it needs on me.
All right.
But so you look at Turb, and he has a lot of momentum, and Foreign Man has kind of steadily, been growing. Frank Laundrie is probably the best of all of us in terms of like the quality of his content. He's just really like, he's smart. He's not trying to be seen as much. He's like, look, I'm gonna just drop these bangers. Y'all will come back when I drop the next one. And so the key is, like I said earlier, like, I think cross-pollination. Like, I have my ultimate goal for this year. I have a podcast with Jill Scott that's coming out in a couple of days. And my goal for the near future is to do like a round of the hip hop podcast brigade. Guys I probably don't like or share a lot of politics with, but if I could get in their faces and talk my shit, it's creating the gravitational pull.
Yeah.
And so the question is now, there's going to be, that's a high risk maneuver, right? If I end up on Charlemagne the God's radio show, I will talk to millions of people, and I will say stuff like, Martin Luther King was a socialist, and fuck everybody up, and that'd be great. But also, will Charlemagne the God say something misogynist while I'm there? You know what I mean? Like, so it's a high risk maneuver.
And then, like, are you on the hook for, like, not coming back at them when, like,
right?
You're not there to have that fight. You're there to talk to. You're like, yeah, okay. But anyway, about that socialism.
Yes,
right?
yes. You know what I'm saying? So like, so that's my goal, because I think at least my goal is to normalize these politics for the next generation. Because Gen Z, this is what they don't know it fully, but this is what they want. This is what they're heading to, because they see capitalism crumbling. The traditional trajectory of people getting more conservative as they age is not happening with millennials, because the system because it's broke. Why would we invest more in it? It's broke. It's not working. And so we're at a prime opportunity to reintroduce these politics to the public, because the thing that I've my video about, that's going to be titled for Black conservatives, is going to spend a lot of time talking about is how in the 50s and 60s being a communist or a socialist wasn't a weird thing for a lot of people. Being labor oriented, all that stuff was completely normal. And it wasn't until there was a concerted effort by, Nixon, and everyone afterward to, defeat communism because of the Cold War. This shit.
Yeah.
All that goes away. And suddenly it's radical and deviant to be a socialist. And that is how it's been since I was born. And so I was brought up in Pan-Africanism and didn't know who Kwame Ture was until grad school. And that's like absurd, and it's because Kwame Ture was a socialist. The face of Pan-Africanism is Marcus Garvey, who was damn near a fascist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, and that's all Vosh knows. So it becomes this this cycle of fuckery that ruins everything.
Yeah. Which that goes back to like what you were talking about earlier, where it just gets flattened down into this, like, usually people wind up pointing at Garvey and
right.
And no, there's a lot of other motherfuckers who disagree with him about approach, and like we're actually the entirety
of the movement.
Yeah.
And this is not to say that like Pan-Africanist movements were perfect, because like Kwame Nkrumah, who's a huge figure and I love his shit, he also declared himself dictator for life before he was ousted. Like, So like, and this is, so I don't want to insinuate that there's that African, Pan-Africanism or Black nationalism is above critique. Because I am not a Black nationalist, right? I want to be clear on that. But I also feel like the politics and the project of Black nationalist movements are incredibly valuable and should inform any leftist movement we're talking about, at least in the United States, because the first thing we have to do is get Black people in the game. Because we're not going to have a socialist workers movement if we don't get Black people in the game. And Black people are not going to get in the game if there's not a way to reintroduce these politics to them without it being like, a long-haired white guy, whose family is from, some gentrified area of Los Angeles or New York. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to come from Chapo Trap House, even though I don't know if they're privileged, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I mean, currently the public facing, I'll say public facing, because for the better part of ever, it's been like Black leftists doing a lot of the heavy lifting and on the ground, but like the public facing portion of quote unquote leftism in America is like, people like white dudes who are largely descended from middle class upbringing, who correctly identify that they come from a place of privilege and identify problems in the systems, but still have not been willing to shed all of the other aspects. It's a lack of self-reflection and a willingness to completely shed and divest from the system that has benefited them, and a lack of an incuriosity with other movements, particularly like the history of like Black nationalism and Black leftism.
Ones that'll challenge them. Because it's because if you are a 20-year-old, 19-year-old college student whose mind has just been blown by Hegel or some shit, and I've never read Hegel, but like everybody talks about them. So like Hegel,
I never read Hegel either.
You read Hegel, Marx, and Deleuze, and your mind is blown. And so now you want to do something. And so the next step is to hit the streets. Like I did Occupy Wall Street for one night. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't sleep there. I went there one night and I said, "Oh, nah, this ain't really it." And went back home to my wife. Was like, "Yeah, babe, my bad." Because you see, like, there's, there's like, first off, in Atlanta, they did it at a park that was full of homeless people. And like, so these, kind of, I don't want to say vapid, but these like young, milk behind the ears leftists had never interacted with Black people, let alone Black unhoused people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they're trying to start this movement in this space with like such poor preparation and poor like forethought of what to do, so on and so forth. And so it's like, all right. So, and I don't blame them is what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame, 19-year-old kids wanting to do something, having been completely a product of a social system that has underdeveloped any radical or revolutionary aspect to their being, feeling like maybe they can't do a lot directly in interacting with the people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they should just start a podcast and share their ideas.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because yeah. But then
actually, like, sorry, I just want to interject there with like a single thing. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about doing some bullshit like that, with going to a park full of people like that, or just any bit of activism, your impulses are good, right? Like, you get head pats for that. Good job. But what you need to realize is that you are not the first motherfucker to think those thoughts. And there is probably somebody on the ground in that community who is doing that work already, who knows the territory and the people. Go find them and then ask them what you can do to help them. Don't show up thinking you're going to be the movement and that there's not one there already. I just wanted to say my piece on that.
Yes, no, thank you. That was an excellent statement to put out there. Because what happens, they go out there, they put on their cape, they hit the streets, they get shit thrown at them, sometimes literally.
Yeah.
And then they, become a libertarian.
Yeah.
Something's, at best maybe a sock dim or some shit, like a Democratic Social, whatever the reverse is. And yeah, and that's why I'm not, I don't know, I'm the revolution will not be televised or premiered on YouTube. And we need to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also something like that's hard to say to people who are directly in the mud, in the crosshairs of some of these movements. And so my next thing is like, well, how can you help? How can I help? Because I'm not fit to be the leader.
Yeah.
And none of us are, but some people think that they are. And that's one of the biggest problems. And that's why the drama is easy. That's why it's hard to turn away from Keffel's trending.
Yeah.
Keffels has 70,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
I think about how absurd that is. So Twitter trends for us. Like I want people to understand, like, just because Keffels is trending on your Twitter, she's not trending everywhere else.
Yeah.
But Keffels has less than 50,000 subscribers. She's smaller than Foreign Man.
Oh, word. I didn't
You know
realize.
what I'm saying?
Actually, that just made me feel real bad. I'm going to delete my tweet about Keffels that has gotten apparently twice the number of views that Keffels has followers. So I'm just going to make this go away because that's inappropriate.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing. But man, the machine is so good and the outrage is so potent. You know what I'm saying? That we really want to respond to the ridiculousness of her, trolling behavior. But she has 40,000 subscribers, 42.6 thousand subscribers.
I am going to leave up my Jesse gender appreciation thread because we love Jesse.
Right.
But I am deleting all the Keffels adjacent shit because, yeah, I'm wrong for that.
But it's natural, though, because she's trolling you effectively. In fact, like, Keffels is on her way to what I'm not sure. She could be on the Daily Stormer in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because like if I am an executive of content creation, I am watching Keffels and I'm like, oh, there's something there. The girl is talented at the thing she's actually trying to do. And if we could relegate her to what that thing is and stop treating her like a revolutionary because she took down kiwi farms for a week, we would be so much healthier as a space.
So this is where like the cynical bastard in me, and I am a deeply, deeply cynical person.
Right. I understand. I am too.
This is where I come in, and somebody, and I apologize to the person who commented this on my YouTube page when I re-uploaded all my videos. I meant to reply to you, and I lost your reply. I don't know what video it's on, but I'm going to respond to you directly. You asked me when I was talking to DJ Mule. I said I'm okay with grifters as long as they're grifting in a direction that is beneficial to my politics.
Right.
And you said that was morally inconsistent. And that's not true, but that's just because I didn't correctly explain my morals. I am okay. Like, so bad people are gonna bad people, right? Like they're gonna grift. As long as you are out there doing what you're doing in a way that is advancing my politics and you're not being so overtly corrosive that it's destroying other elements of things that are advancing my politics, I'm not going to like promote you, but I'm not going to invest a lot of time in stopping you because you're going to destroy yourself at some point eventually, and all anybody's going to remember, or all that's going to matter, is the minor good that you did while you were profiting off. Like, there are a couple of people who I could point to who are in the left tube space who are very obviously, in my opinion, doing it specifically for the money and no other reason, because there's money to be made there now.
Right.
I'm not coming for you over that. Right? Because you're doing, as long as you're not hurting anybody else, I don't really give a shit because you're advancing my political agenda. And I think if we could take people like Keffels and like Vosh and like Xanderhall, and we could make them stop being racist assholes who actively antagonize other elements of the movement and turn them into that top layer of like the funnel for like the adolescents that watch them, that would be a good thing. Like, so that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm okay with you being like kind of an edgy grifter as long as you're not actively harming the rest of the project.
Yeah. In an ironic way, we need to like throw a bone to some neocons or something and like get them off the trail. If we can get Keffels off the trail of Black queer spaces. If we could give Vosh a mid-tier neo-Nazi creator to hone in on for a while, get him back in his comfort zone, he may end up being less harmful.
Yeah,
you know
like
what I'm saying?
if he turned into like the next Kyle Kalinske, which is really what his niche is, right? He's good. Well, he's not good at political analysis, but he's like good at seeming like he's good at political analysis.
Right.
And he does it in a way that makes people want to be leftists. That's fine. I don't give a shit if he has depth to his content, as long as it's actively pushing people to people that do have depth to their content.
Right.
Right. So like, yeah, like slot these people in where they best fit. And we just stop being so fucking the problem is that the corrosiveness is what sells.
Right. And that's what keeps the trending going, and it's ironically Innuendo Studios' last video about not last video because he's actually come out a bunch of stuff, but his video on the cost of doing business.
Yeah, that was a really good video. Yeah.
Kind of describes what's happening with, a lot of these figures that are becoming prominent. Is like, if we ignore Keffels, I'm going to tweet in a second, ignore Keffels, right? If that works, will she then escalate? You know what I mean? Will Vosh, I think, is done. I think Vosh is going into his own version of Healthy Boys content, which is troubling, but like, it's fine. I'm just gonna.
And another thing, to his credit, he was one of the first people that I ever encountered who was doing like, here's how to be a positive version of masculinity from a leftist perspective. He fucked it all up, right? He didn't, but he at least had the idea.
Right, he had the idea. He may not have the effective follow through. Yeah. So, but he seems like he's honing in on that. From what I could notice, again, I was all over his Reddit the last couple of months. But what was I saying? Well, my point is, yeah. So will that create a space between them and the harm that they like? Will we get into a harm reduction wave?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Which is what I would prefer, but also the other thing is I'm less affected by the harm that they cause.
Yeah,
especially Keffels with the Black trans community. That's a kind of a serious thing that she's playing around with.
yeah,
So
and does a lot of harm there. And the thing is, and I do want to like at least touch on this briefly with like Vosh and Kaffels and these other folks. Often what they will do is they will find a particular person within a community who is or has done objectionable things that are worthy of critique, and then they will ramp that up into what amounts to a hate campaign against the community as a whole, right?
right.
So that right, that and I'm not qualified to stitch. I'm not gonna stray out of my lane any further than that. But
Right.
like just these people will go after folks specifically if they get blood in the water. And
Mm,
the problem is that it turns into a feeding frenzy and it hurts people who depend on those communities at large for their well-being.
right.
And it's yeah, we gotta the cost of doing business there is too high in my opinion. We gotta figure out a way to either completely ignore them or get them to cut the shit. But like, I don't know which is the better investment of
So
time.
my thing, one thing I know will happen is it's kind of like I had a image that I was going to use. I can't remember, but basically, as the space grows around them, it's kind of like a scab. You know what I mean? So let's say Cornbread Tube is successful at growing a third of new like growing left the online left by 30%, and it's all and I think this is what they fear, to be honest with you. This is why
Yeah,
there's so much antagonism to Black people in these spaces, who are basically drawing a line in the sand that's dangerous for them. Like, no shade to what the online left has been the last 4 or 5 years, but as Black people have entered the room, they've looked at y'all like y'all are crazy. Like, why the fuck are they even here?
yeah,
Right? And so, as you all start to say, that's a good point. It becomes less hospitable for them and what they do. So if like the online left suddenly becomes 30% Black instead of 4% Black, but grows and gets healthier without their input, then we don't even have to engage. You know
yeah,
what I mean? We don't
yeah,
even have to give them room on the floor. We can let them do whatever the fuck they want. It's not really a big deal.
yeah,
Um, to as a it's not really an issue because you know we have bigger things to do. We have more important things to get into.
yeah. And maybe
Um,
I know you got shit to do. Maybe that's a good spot to wrap up on. Is maybe the takeaway here is don't it's been the internet mantra forever, don't feed the trolls, but specifically take the food that you would have fed the trolls and feed it to the healthy people
yes.
who are actually creating that space for good content, good conversation that's actually like uplifting people. Because your attention is energy, and it's your attention is in the current socio-political environment and economic model that we live in, your attention is quite literally currency. um,
Right.
that is money. Your eyeballs are like your attention span is measured in dollars by the people that monetize it. So take it and give it to people who are doing something better with it and making a space that you actually want to be a part of, would be like my takeaway from all this.
Yeah. Basically, that is exactly what I'm about to tweet. like literally that thank you for saying that, because
Yeah.
I was like, I just took a screen grab while we were talking of Keffels's channel subscriber count, and then like how many tweets are about her. She's got 40,000 subscribers, and at least from this screen grab 13,000 tweets
Yeah.
right now, and that's fucking ridiculous. ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
And I
So
am
like,
sure that all of that negative attention, however deserved it may be, probably is not helping her become a better person.
right, it's not. It's not helping to stop the problem that she causes. But you know what would? If you had 13,000 tweets about Soul Bunny. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? The young black, the only, black trans creator that I can think of right now that's engaged directly with the space. No shade to Cat Black, because Cat Black's put in 15 years of this shit,
Yeah.
and now she's like, I'm tired of y'all, I'm out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Which everybody go subscribe to Soul Bunny. She's gonna
Yes.
blow up, and we want her to blow
I'm
up.
about to link Soul Bunny to this thread, and hopefully it gets some
go.
legs.
I know Bellamy's working on a video right now. Go subscribe to their channel too, so
Right.
you get it when
Although
it drops.
Bellamy don't want this shit.
That's true.
That's why I'm not going to use Bellamy, because she's going to be like, that's nice and all, but fuck off.
Yeah, I'll get a bomb in my mailbox from Bellamy for shouting them out.
All right, but yeah, this is dope and cathartic. I appreciate you listening to me whine about my struggles with success.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always a pleasure. Do you want to like shout out or plug your pluggables and all that stuff?
So you can find me at FD Signifier on all the things. So although Signifier is sometimes spelled differently, just look for the black guy with the locks. Oh no, because it's like a lot of us now. Look for the black guy with the locks that pops up next to that name. I have merch coming. It'll probably be here by the time this comes out.
Oh, what you got coming out?
Just some shirts. I don't know what merch is yet. I just wanted to try some shit.
Gotcha.
I also have a project that may be going on by the time this comes out, with like a black movie club project. So if you're interested in like treating like black movies like a book club, is what the idea is. And I don't know if it'll be streaming on Twitch or YouTube yet. It may end up being a Discord that is done through my Patreon.
Okay.
Because that may be the easiest way to get around all the rules.
Yeah. And
but
like
either way,
all the other bullshit.
Yeah. But yeah, so that and and follow me on Instagram, where I don't do political stuff, but you can, the things that Mark had to cut out from my kids yelling at me, you can find there for, just for the love. So that's pretty much it.
All right. FD Signifier, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Hey there, folks. Mark Edwards again, and I just wanted to thank you for listening. If you like what I do here, then you can support me financially. You can either do so by becoming a patron. If you want to do monthly donations, you can also support me with individual donations on Venmo, Coffee, or PayPal. Be sure to go out and support our guest as well. And if you're able, also support your local community aid, mutual aid networks as well, like we discussed in the interview. If you're not able to support the show financially, which I totally get, right? That's not something everybody can do. I don't want your money in that case, and I would rather you spend it on stuff that you actually need. But you can still support the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube, thumbs up, hit the bell so you get notifications, subscribe, leave a comment. Comments really help me in the algorithm. I really appreciate it if you do that. Like and subscribe to the show on iTunes, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review, leave a 5-star rating, 4-star rating. I'm not sure what the star ratings are on any of those things, but the best one that you can do. Do that, and that will help me immensely. If you want to interact with me directly, you can do so by following me on social media. I'm basically pretty much only active on Twitter at this point, which is at ultravioletpod. And if you need to email me, you can do so at ultravioletpod@gmail.com. Occasionally, I'm active on Twitch under the at UVpod, which will also be linked. I've been getting more into playing video games recently because I've had some more free time, but that might not last. So it's kind of hit or miss. I'm not really a big streamer, but if that's just subscribe and maybe you'll catch me on there playing Minecraft or something. As always, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one.